your word. Trusted your word. Now I see through, just like all the rest. Trusted your word, believed your Lord. Now I see through, can't trust you no more. Trusted your word, believed your Lord. And now I see through, can't trust you no more. Psychologically abused since I was a kid. Believe in your stories, the things that you did. Now I'm asking for my money back. I have it tallied up, $800,768 fiat dollars. Gave you my trust, followed your way. Now I see through your deceit on display. NASA, you've been lying to me. Lies and deceit, it's all I see. NASA, you've been lying to me. But deception's a game you played every day. Lies and deceit, it's all I see. NASA, you've been lying to me with your fake streams and false reality. NASA, you betrayed my trust with your fake streams. I stopped being blind. Admit your unjust lies. Since I was a kid, you fed me lies, stories and fables about real lies, meant for the masses to be force-fed to the blind. NASA, you've been lying to me with your fake streams and false reality. Now I've taken my trust through your lies and deceit, turned it to dust. Now I've taken my trust through your lies and deceit, turned it to dust. Trust of your more, believed your Lord. Now I see through, can't trust you no more. Gave you my trust, followed your way. Now I see through your deceit on display. NASA, you've been taken from me. Lies and deceit, it's all I see. NASA, you've been taken from me. Believed in your quest, now I see through, just like all the rest. Trust of your more, believed your Lord. Now I see through, can't trust you no more. Lies and deceit, it's all I see.
With the Earth at 1,000 miles an hour in that eastward vector, right? It has nothing to do with the forward motion of the plane. That eastward vector is going to be faster at the equator where it's 1,000 miles an hour, and they would have to have the plane moving backwards or sideways or whatever it is to be in sync to treat the Earth as stationary. It ends the argument. That debunks the globe emphatically. It cannot be a ball spinning if you're treating it as stationary, when the pilot has to be in sync with the Earth, treated as a stationary that's literally supposed to be moving faster at the equator. It's done. Right there,
That's
it's done.
awesome. You know why I love conspiracy theories so much? Because they're not even theories anymore. It's just people who think a lot. They fucking actually think about shit. And they don't fucking take shit at face value like the rest of these fucking NPC assholes.
Yup.
What's up, Alan?
Yeah.
Greetings, brothers.
I posted a video there. Oh, Alan, what's up?
What up, Dave?
Go ahead.
I see my boy Stone.
I was just playing smack at somebody, but everybody in here gets it already.
Oh, yeah? Did you hit him with a little tangential velocity to the dome ski?
Yep. Well, tangential gradient's going to mess it all up for those pilots treating it as stationary.
To the dome ski.
Well, you know what they say about pilots and training them how to fly.
Don't do it.
Yeah, treat it as stationary.
It's flat and stationary.
It's stationary and level. The only way it works.
The only pilots that get trained to land on anything that are moving is a Navy pilot on aircraft carriers.
You guys have caused me to admit something here. I was actually a Glober, fucking hiding in troll, hoping to debunk you, but now you fucking convinced me. And guess what? I'm going to put all my intellectual powers and all my fucking pattern recognizing abilities and all my fucking neurosparkly fucking bullshit, and maybe even a few addies, into figuring this shit out with you guys.
Let's go.
Yeah, that sounds half trolly to me.
Nah, this
Yeah,
dude gets it.
Right?
he's been doing that all day long, just kind of jumping in and stepping on everybody, and you know.
Yeah.
I'm
That's
not
what's
stuff.
up.
I've been being very polite.
You got troll darts, super rager troll boner going on or whatever. Anyway, what's up, everyone?
What's up, Shane? How you doing?
Doing nothing. We're chilling. You guys having a good day? How long you been going now? Like 12 hours or whatever?
I started 9 Eastern.
One of the Globers challenged me to a debate in here. He was like, "Come to this debate," and then Ken was trying to tell him when it was, but we don't know how to do time zones because globularity is silly, so we couldn't figure out what time it was in Australia. But I think it's been going 12 hours.
Dude, you didn't do an hourly transformation, bro?
Dude,
I'm kind of sad
Who the hell knows
Dude,
what
that you're
time
not
it
the
is in
time zone
Australia?
master.
Yeah, we got some Lawrence transformations that we got to.
Dude, how many times have we scheduled events with other people and fucked it up because of time zones? I know I'm not alone, but we've done like
Never.
Come on.
I've never.
You're lying. You're full of shit.
No, never. No, there's only 3. That bro, no, never.
Dude, Dom did it to you already.
No, that's never happened.
Oh, so it's just bold-faced lying everything. Okay, I see the play. All right,
Yeah,
I'm with you.
it's never. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, we gotta all think in UTC so we can synchronize with the turtle clock in the sky. Otherwise, what the fuck are we doing?
So I heard you guys like round Earth.
Who likes round Earth?
You do.
Man, the Earth is flat. You're gonna have to deal with.
No, you'd like round Earth. Ew.
We're all round earthers, I think.
Nobody's around.
You look like a round Earther, Brian.
Not even close.
I bet he doesn't even realize who the fuck this is.
What does a round earther look like? What are you saying?
Looks like you, bro.
It says Reaper.
Yeah.
Excellent.
It says Reaper Kitty there.
Look at you, Cookie. You can read. Holy shit.
Holy
I followed you back for like the 20th time too, by the way.
Yeah, I keep on getting
Who do you keep like personally offending that they go on reporting strikes, sprees, or whatever until you don't agree with this?
Is that amazing? Or
We post the same stuff. How is it always you?
I take
Brian actually goes a step further, and he mentions a specific group of people, and then he ends up getting his account banned.
Yeah, but the state of Twitter right now is that by itself won't get you banned. But if a bunch of emotionally upset, butthurt people aggressively and collectively report you, which triggers bots and incursions and reviews, then yes, you absolutely will get banned that way. So it's more that he's pissed off the same dedicated people more than once. I think that's what happened, Brian.
You think it's a,
What's that?
you think it's a deliberate attack?
Yeah, like a group of like 10
Oh, it's
people
guaranteed fucking deliberate.
could collectively just report him, right, no matter what, and that will trigger the system to do it.
They all hate me. They all hate me.
It's because he thinks the Earth's
What was his name?
Like what?
Tell about it. Well, that's why I was asking, but thank you for letting me know.
Oh yeah, no worries. They're just on a break.
Yeah, and people like Franco block me for some reason.
Franco Labibibu, or whatever his name is,
To be fair, I block all of them. So
our resident CERN physicist.
He doesn't want to talk about mediums.
He puts the G in LGB.
Dude, I saw him link a pendulum swinging earlier, and he was like, "Oh, let me guess, ether wind, electrostatic gobbledygook, or whatever." It's like, what are you doing, bro? Why would you be so egregiously retarded? Like, obviously, motion has to do with like ether wind and whatnot, but like, what are you doing, dude? That's like full fucking Peter tier. Would you just straight give up and like roll over?
I couldn't believe Franco blocked me. Like, you're weak.
dude, I made a timeline of like 80 experiments and papers of people studying ether wind and C plus V and the differential speed of light, like back from when Michelson Morley did it all the way to like 2006. So for people like Franco to scoff openly as if he's read all of the corroborative papers supporting this precise thing, and then the mathematical framework they use to yank the modern science out of it, right? He's delved into that. For him to mock it like that is so disingenuous. It's retarded. Like, oh, all these other people whole thing. Like for him to take the Wikipedia page 1 perspective on a thing is just ridiculous.
Yo, Phantom, the fart my son just let out lets me know for sure the Earth is fucking flat. 'Cause that shit echoed straight across the fucking living room.
I don't even know what to say about that. I mean,
Sonorous.
You just hear the beginning of the show starting. It's like on the next flat Earth file. So you see her son letting out the massive fart. Like, sounds like a trumpet.
Next
Yeah,
part,
that was like a fucking bass drop, bro. I felt like I was at a show. I was like, damn, bro. No mercy.
Well, they do have those guys that were popping a balloon in a dome-like structure and making it sound like thunder.
Let's not reduce this to farts. Like, come on.
We
Back to
might have
sonar.
scared all the round earthers away. They might have got scared off. Is Peter Globinski still? Did he? No. He's committed. He's committed. I'll give him that.
Nobody wants to hear Peter speak, though, so that's fine.
I know. Again, you got all these guys that could just slam on him. He's over there just quiet as a mouse. Timid as can be.
Wait, Peter, weren't you like tagging people on all these
Inshallah, it
posts?
stays that way. God dang it, TM.
My bad.
He's doing it against Shane.
Alan is like the flat earth heavyweight. I'm surprised Peter isn't asking him a million questions right now. What's going on here?
You got all the guys in here, man.
Do you guys remember?
Do
you guys remember that in World War II on Christmas, the Germans and the Americans had a little ceasefire?
That's World War One, you idiot.
It was World War One.
Yeah, that was.
It was.
Was it?
Man.
It was the German and the French.
Yeah. Was it? Well, anyway.
Yeah.
Peter and I have a Christmas peace treaty, I think, or whatever.
To never talk to each other.
I like that. Let's do that. Can I have
another ether debate?
Son of a
I would
bitch.
love that. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not
Don't
allowed
talk to your brother like
You're
that.
not allowed to invoke
Another
Grok.
ether debate?
You're not allowed to invoke Grok and use Grok as your source and fucking read like you were just doing when you start debating over here with some flat earth heavyweights. So
Did
just
he
make
just
sure you
take-
give him that respect.
And he wants to talk about the ether. Last time he had a debate about the ether, he literally took Shane's position.
I'll talk to Morty if he's willing to come out of retirement and do another round. I would love that.
Morty is a child, incapable of having a discussion about anything.
Really?
Dude, I'll defend Morty. He's a good boy.
Hold on.
How dare you, Brian?
Any day, dude.
How dare you, Brian? There's a chance we could have Morty right now instead of Peter. Like, come on, Brian.
You guys cannot take on two Glob Chads at once.
What are you basing that on, Brian? Have you done so have you done, are you basing on Morden and VC or Morden Text? Because they're completely different people.
Well, I tried to have a discussion about World War II with him and World War One, and it turned out that all he wanted to do was say that I'm a master race trying to take over the world and I want to kill all the Jews.
Well, yeah,
that's nothing, man.
He's a troll and he's just trying to goad you, like, obviously.
During our last encounter, if you recall, he brought my title down to a 2-word description. He called me a sneering asshole. You guys remember that one? Right before he left.
Sounds about right.
To be fair,
I have been known to sneer now.
You have been known to sneer.
He's not wrong. He's not wrong, but you're right, though.
It's justified sneering, though. It's a difference.
It's like, people call me an asshole, and I'll be like, yeah, you're fair. That's fair. What can you do?
I have a new title, though. I got it last night. We were in the clubhouse there, hanging with Elizabeth and the gang, and Kanan was there. Some question was fielded and bantered around and stuff, and about 2/3 of the way through that, he referred to me as the chosen one in the third person. You can believe that. So
You're gonna bring balance to the force.
That's right. I'm gonna hang out with Eddie Murphy, and I'm gonna save the world.
Yeah, you gotta really love and idolize someone before you can truly hate them with all your soul, I guess, right? That's what the Anti-Flat Earth fan club is all about. They had high hopes for everyone here, and we all dashed them, right? So
succinctly put, yeah.
But Morty is welcome to come in here, but he won't.
Well, I'm just like, for debate people that we've debated, like, they're all pretty terrible, but more than one puts up a good effort, right? So you gotta give him that.
And he'd rather pay his bills than admit he's wrong. So,
well, he paid my bills for being wrong. So
you have to admit that. You have to admit or admire that commitment or whatever, right?
I mean,
I guess.
If you're going to take a stance, you might as well hold on to it, right?
Like, he came back and he's like beasting in the comments, and I've asked him to make a $10,000 bet twice now, and he's back down immediately. So that's pretty funny. On things he was boasting about or whatever.
One spitting.
Yeah.
I believe the last time I heard somebody say something about betting on it, he said, I've learned my lesson about that.
Nice. That's good. I mean, not really though, because he'll just go back to boasting about stuff that can't, like he immediately did it 2 more times. So I can't say that that's true.
Man, look
Yo,
at that. Joe
Ken.
Barra is back in town. Anyways, what's up, Alan?
Oh, I was saying, what's up to my boy Ken over there? Ken, have you
Yes.
caught the latest and greatest in ether-related research?
No, sir. Please enlighten us.
Turns out, all motion is relative to a medium, and the same equation that they use for classical Doppler shift, they use for GPS, implying c plus or minus v with respect to the ECF frame, which is, your boy, the old lab, which is showing that there's an anisotropy in the speed of light that's proportional to the velocity of the receiver. And there's actually no relativistic description of that in GPS code, and there's no Lorentz transformations or anything like that. How do you feel about that, Ken? How do you feel about the backbone of GPS is classical AF? Like if you cracked open a GPS satellite right now, there would be a piece of paper in there that just says classical AF.
Well, it's funny you bring it up because Peter and I had this conversation about the ECEF reference frame, and you explained that away quite nicely, didn't you, Peter?
Why do you guys keep addressing Peter? I'm just curious. Asking for
Yeah.
Oh, it was just a conversation we had. I thought he wanted to defend his position, but he's obviously quiet.
He has no position. But unfortunately, there are no other Globies that are stepping in here. So,
Hey, Shane.
Yeah, that is unfortunate.
Shane, what's the name of that fictitious frame that they introduced to remove ether wind variance relative to the stars? What's that called again?
The ECI, the Earth-centered inertial, the one with the
dude.
sync to the solar. So, like, if there was a
Yeah.
discrepancy, say, in the speed of light on an east-west variant between sidereal and anything else, it would fix that if you set sidereal statically, and then that would remove the difference in the two, and then you could just do all your calculations in this fictitious frame. However, you'd have to account and translate back to the EF for anything to be real. So there's corrections required in each, but the forces that you need to account for in reality are real inertial forces like centrifugal, Coriolis, and Euler, as if space moves around a stationary Earth, and that's how satellites work.
Interesting. So you mean to like dynamically calculate motion and account for that they have to like impose inertial forces on it with respect to an inertial frame?
Yep. And that special frame before they translate it to the fictitious frame where they can't do that.
Unlucky. Speaking of preferred frames, I've been reading a lot of Sagnac this week, man. A lot of relativists trying to give a relativistic treatment to the Sagnac effect.
You mean the people who try to derive it as if there isn't a preferred frame, but then starting with a preferred frame or a center point within a Cartesian coordinate system before applying various cylindrical and other translations to get back to the derivation that they started with without relativism or without relativity?
Exactly. And you know what's even crazier about that is every single one of them starts with the lab time and lab distance. They're using a fixed stationary, absolute time frame, right? And then they're transforming that into their fictitious coordinate system in the center of the device, like just like throwing in my boy fictitious midpoint. That's also backwards covariant with the lab frame, which is absolute,
which is just the lab frame dressed up. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And then they'll drop out the relativistic terms, right? So they'll set like gamma to 1, which is basically saying no gammas here, lad. And then all you're left with is the classical form.
So if gamma was relativity in math form, and then it gives the appearance of it being there, but then when you set it to 1, it has no actual value. That's a deceptive way to do it, isn't it?
Well, it's even worse than that, because to even pretend to start relativity, right, they had to grab the lab frame, time and space, and then throw that in there, right? So like they started their transformation not doing it with respect to the receiver and the emitter. So like the laser on the device and the detector, because in relativity there's no absolute frame, all motions relative, and you're supposed to apply Lorentz transformations with respect to where the observer and where the receiver or source are, because the motion's relative to that. It can't be relative to a fictitious point because that's a preferred frame, right? Right. So they go ahead and just throw that in there to start their transformation. They start with a non-relative time and space. They start with absolute time and space, and then they go on to try and say things like
that thing they can't use. Okay, all right.
Yeah, that thing that's explicitly forbidden in page 1 and 2 of Einstein's paper.
Right. Okay.
Like, just like the beginning framework of how it should work. You should give everything a Lorentz treatment, but they're like, hey, we're going to go ahead and set our Lorentzies to 1, which is basically, no Lorentz is here after we grab the lab frame, though. So it looks relativistic because we started with the transformation. We got a gamma factor. It looks nice and clean, but there's actually no relativity there, and it's just classical. And then you know what that means, though? That like that means that one's more fundamental than the other because you can't derive the Sagnac effect under relativistic principles. You have to introduce, you have to fall back on classical theory to predict the fringe pattern.
Yeah, the first time you were laying those equations down, remember when I pointed that out, that in order for, if gamma is 1, then V necessarily equals 0.
Velocity is 0, yep.
And so much for the rest of the equation, right?
Yep.
Man, I think it was Brenner that said the scientists of today use all their jargon and lingo and talk specifically with, flamboyant math equations, because if they had to explain to real people in real terms what they were doing, people would laugh at them, right? So they specifically put it in the jargon so that they, you can't tell and you get mystified and it becomes like this religion. Oh, you must, you're not worthy. You don't get it.
Yep. As soon as the
jargon,
eyes glaze over, that's a win for the mainstream.
Jargon after jargon, bro. I was reading this Sagnac paper, right? My boy said he was going to use a killing vector field. I'm like, whoa, what's that? That's crazy,
That
dude.
sounds awesome, yeah.
That's crazy. And then he was using that as his time variable, right? To introduce that so he could set that up so he could make an integral over the dimensions that he defined for the apparatus, and all that, so he could take little sections of it. But anyway, right, basically how he's introducing time into the calculations he's doing, because he's presenting this as like, quote unquote relativistic, right? Well, a killing vector field is a continuous uninterrupted flow. It's absolute. He introduced absolute time via the name killing vector field, a mathematical thing invented by a guy named Wilhelm Killing. So it sounds very fancy, like, ooh, I'm going to give it the old killing vector field treatment. You're like, oh, no way. That sounds relativistic-ish as you could get. Dude, it's the opposite. And the reason for this, guys, is because they have to be backwards compatible, number one, with the lab frame. And observers in the lab can see the fringe pattern being measured, right? And relativity predicts that we shouldn't see that. And part of their theory is all frames being equivalent, etc. So if their apparatus is producing a measurement that we can see in the lab frame, they have to explain this, and this is the links that they have gone to, introducing a whole entire, math thing where it's like, this is the killing vector field. What's that? It's a continuous thing that's uninterrupted and can't be disturbed and goes on forever. It's absolute. Okay. What are you attributing the time to set that to? The lab time? Oh, okay.
Magic again. Yep. People do it by not doing it. It's crazy. But anyway, we had hands up. I think we killed the other hand. Sorry.
Yeah.
To the hands. The hands.
My man Aobara is here. Wanted to get an update from him.
Hello. Hello from Japan, where curvature is as imaginary as Santa Claus. Hey, I got a quick question. While Shane is here, may I ask a quick question to Shane? I've been reading your a flat Earth model, and the question is, what do you think is the source or the mechanism of the sun and moon, and if possible, stars, but mainly sun and moons, the sun and moon. What do you think, or how it works? Could it may be a hard question, but I'm quite interested in this kind of the actual mechanism of actual flat Earth model.
Dude's like, how does everything in the world work? If you could just tell me real quick, offhand, no pressure.
Yeah, no problem.
Come on, Shane, do it.
That's a tough one, dude. But for like the model there is, let's separate kinematics and dynamics, right? The kinematics is what we're showing, so observable measurement, actual observation. That's what drives the model. The dynamics I put in the description, right? Mostly for how the things work and how things work together and what we think that the causes of most of the things. But specifically for the sun and the moon, I mean, there's a really influential video from I think it's called Magnetic Flat Earth from F.E. Core, I think did it. Am I mistaken?
Okay.
Yep, and they did this sun analysis on what they think the sun is by taking specific azimuth measurements from specific latitudes over a period of a year, and then throwing that data into a program to generate 3D threads to do the actual path tracking for where the sun is, to get a like an actual model for positions of the sun according to one observer. And it came out with this toroidal manifestation where it appeared to be all over at once. It's the craziest thing ever. But what it really comes down to is that you see it like the examples they use is, the pond or a body of water or a lake. If you're standing there on the edge of the lake, the beam of the sun goes directly from the sun to your feet. And if your friend was standing next to you, he wouldn't see the beam go to your feet. He would see it go to his feet. Right. So everyone sees that their own personalized beam of that, which sort of means that both of the luminaries act like, source projections almost, right? You know how when you're driving on the road and it seems to follow you, like Dave Weiss talks about this all the time, and it seems like it's following you, it's because it really is. I think that everything in the sky is personal to you. I think that's how the yep. I think that everything in the sky is non-physical, right? So it's metaphysical. Everything below us is physical, nothing above us is physical.
Do you think that the source, or I don't know what's the name of it, but anyway, the mechanism of the sun and moons, what we see is only light, right? But the source of the light, could it be like the dielectric, what do you call it, dielectric field, a product of dielectricity that Ken Wheeler talks about, stuff like that, like ethereal realm.
Well,
it comes from ethereal realm. Do you think?
Well,
it's possible.
I mean, anything's possible, certainly. But I mean, I think that the Ken Wheeler spin I would put on it is, how people usually say the sun and the moon is like the cathode and the anode, and it's the battery of the electromagnetic system of how things work on flat Earth. I think there's a different take on that works like the sun is electric and the moon is magnetic, and then together you get, electromagnetism only forms between both of the sources, and then that sort of comes out in tides. And how the tides move between it's not directly local responsive to the moon as it gravitationally it would have to be. There's a 90-degree offset on the highest highs and the lowest lows, neap and spring. So that would only be because you have some sort of sun effect and some sort of moon effect, and together you get the electromagnetic pull that you would see magnified in the salt water because is that diamagnetic or whatever. So that would be my take on it. The sun and the moon are different. So they're personalized, but they're very different, right? So the sun has very electric energy, right? Solar panels are electric. They don't know how they work, but they get electricity from the sun all the time easily, right? So the sun is definitely electric, has an electric field. When you look at it as what produces light, the ionization in the atmosphere, right? It's ionizing particles. You have fluorescing colors like argon, neon. Stuff like that gives you sunset, twilight, dusk, right? So that's all electric in nature as well, I think.
Wow. Okay. Thank you. I'm quite impressed and overwhelmed at the same time. So now I see it's not that simple as like the current working mainstream model claims. I think so. I just wanted to know what your thought on
kind of wild questions so get wild answers, man.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, guys. I go back to listeners. Thank you.
Thank you.
That dude's awesome.
Yes, sir.
Oh, I think I figured out how to get Shane to speak at regular speed. He just has to assume everybody in his audience is Japanese, and he goes much slower.
I've been trying to go
Dude,
slower.
that was nice and coherent.
Nice. Yeah, that's what I think how the whole world works, dude. Right there, you go.
So little 90-degree offset field intercedence or whatever.
Yeah. So
Polarization.
Piezo helped me work out and publish a very coherent explanation of tides called the telluric currents and dielectric nature of the sun, published on the database still that's out there, and that's specifically on how we think the tides work in Piezo's. Put a lot of Piezo input on that one because trying to replace a dynamic tidal theory is just no joke, right? But we're working with the empirics of tidal constituents and harmony and how the sun and the moon create sinusoidal patterns that you can use predictions with basic interpolation, which is how you get sinusoidal M2 constituent tidal predictions. Which I think is funny because the people on the internet are trying to say how that's proof of gravity, and it's absolutely not, right? The gravity is how they get the equilibrium tidal theory and how they think it works with the sun and the moon and gravity. But it has so many assumptions and predictions like total uniformity with no ocean basins and all of the water responds instantaneously to all gravitational forces. That's the requirement for things like the tidal bulge to exist that the Earth would hula hoop through, as Neil deGrasse Tyson puts it, right? That all exists only in this completely made up hypothetical equilibrium tidal theory that assumes all those retarded things that I just listed. And then the other theory that totally works is the dynamic tidal theory, taking into account tidal basins, topography, winds, and actually amphidromic points in tidal nodes. And that's how they get tidal predictions with their sinusoidal patterns. So the gravity portion is completely discarded, and people think that hula hooping tidal bulges of water are real. But even in heliocentric theory, they're absolutely not.
So we have two models that boil down more or less to a periodicity and trying to make everything fit within that.
Yeah, because the one that works really pairs with the sun and the moon as they actually go in proximity, right? So the proximity of the sun and the moon is definitely the dynamic cause of the tides, whether it's gravitation or not. That's what Bennett's paper was so crucial in saying, right? His paper on geocentric tides, when he was going over tidal lunar acceleration and how the moon exerts, 2.3 times the forces of the gravitation on the tides than the sun does, and they go through the math how that makes sense, but they end up using constructive gravitational interference when they're doing gravitational math on that one to get that to work. So they have to say that the sun and the moon's gravity work together to create neap tides, but it's really just the moon's phase. Anyway, that's a totally different topic in presentation.
Yeah, I was going to ask how you feel about polarization and how that plays into it.
I mean, like the Faraday effect that Cammy was telling us about in her electromagnetic presentation, how it's a shift.
Yeah, because you were saying there was there has to be 90-degree offsets when they reach their min maxes.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to work into the Pizio explanation. So what we came out with was there are telluric currents deep beneath the ocean that follow the quote solar wind, which I don't know how that works in the heliocentric theory if the solar wind is way out there, but to us it just means it's a delayed reaction on the sun's path. So you have the electric intercedence with the magnetic, right? The moon is magnetically pulling the salt water around, the sun's affecting the electric currents beneath on the topography, and the telluric currents underneath. And I assume some sort of perpendicular interaction there would be where you get the actual high tides in real time without the offset, right? So whatever's happening has to translate all the way up from the bottom of the ocean to the top for us to see. And by that time, the sun and the moon are in different spots. That's how we kind of think it works, just to be totally hypothetical and guess. Right, because the result would be like toroidal rhythmic breathing of the Earth as the sun, as the moon and the sun go around and the tides pulse in and out, right, with the toroidal breathing or whatever.
Well, I mean, Michelson-Morley ruled out big G, so we know it's not gravity pulling things together.
Yeah, dude. Who has that with that paper where they derive big G on the spot without mass attracting mass at all? Oh, that's right. It was who's this? Morton Spears, who was published by his daughter a paper, Electrostatic Solution for the Gravity Force and the Value of Big G. Literally derives it on the spot in forms of coulombs instead of using any of that nonsense, and comes out pretty close to the gravitational constant. So I find that super interesting. If you can just make constants out of, because they're using the Coulomb's law versus the law of gravitation are formulaically identical, right? M1 M2 over R squared versus Q1 Q2 over R squared. They're like the same. They're the same formula. So it's funny that he can get the same constant using a different formula, but electromagnetic and Coulomb's in different units.
Oh, I can't wait to hear Peter's retort on all that.
God damn it.
Oh, you want to hear it too.
Thank you, Brian. I
gonna be?
wouldn't dare. I wouldn't dare with a retort, but I will dare to ask a question. Professor Shane, why does the big G have the units of kilograms, meters, and seconds in it, and no units related to electric charge?
What?
There's different ways to derive it, dude. I just said that there's an equivalent derivation.
Oh,
of
I
big
understand
G
that.
to get
I
the
wouldn't dare to question that. My question is, after it was alternatively derived, I completely understand that. I mean, I don't understand it, but I understand your point. How come after the derivation, the unit and the value you say is pretty close, and the units are kilogram, meter, and second? None of these units have electric charge in them at all.
What are you talking
They're
about?
agnostic of electric charge. Well, which one of them has electric charge in them?
That's not what he comes out with. I told you he used completely different units. He comes out with a similar concept. That's
But
why
you
it's
said the
funny.
value is this. If the value is the same, then the units must be the same. I cannot give you a value of 6 for something that you have in pounds, and I give you, I came up with the same 6, but it's millimeters. So pounds versus millimeters. That's like describing a completely different aspect of reality. The unit is everything.
Yeah, you want to take a look at the paper before you start trying to refute it. But so what he uses is,
Well, I trust you. I don't need to. I trust you. You said he derived the same G using.
Yeah, I'm not sure who muted him, but thank you. I don't know what you're trying to get to.
God's
Peter.
plan.
You don't sound like you're getting to a point.
Dude, G equals negative 6.685 times 10 to the negative 11 Coulomb volt meters per kilogram squared. That's what Pierce puts forth. Anyway.
What? So that's a different value altogether.
It's a different nature of the dynamic cause as well, right? So, I mean.
Actually, it was very
Then
close.
he
It's
did
even
not
to the
derive
same
the same
exponent.
G.
No, it was
But it's a
actually
different, if it's
instead
different
of
units,
667, he got 685, and it was to the same exponent, Peter. What are you talking about?
it's different units. So it's a different constant
Well,
altogether.
yeah, yes, he's talking about different units because he's talking about a different mechanism, causally speaking.
Then why does it matter that it's 6? If it's different units, it could be anything else.
Well, we're talking big G here, which turned out to just
Mhm.
be kinematics anyway, because if it actually produced a force and the Earth moved through space and all that in relation to mass attracting mass in any sort of way, there would be a 30-kilometer fringe pattern, right? So like none of that even matters, but he's showing an equivalence with a different cause. So like if you wanted to pretend that there was this force to do that, to like replace it, that's what Guy McGuyerson did by deriving it. So like we don't really care. It's just a constant. Like we don't care about the value. It's
Well,
not
but
even used for anything except for astronomical things that was falsified.
well,
So like we
but
don't.
Professor Shane just said that the big success of this alternative method was that it produced the non-dimensional, the dimensionless portion of the constant, the 6 whatever. That's the big success, that this was derived using the alternative method. But then the guy, whoever did it, substituted the units for completely different units. The unit is what defines the meaning of the constant. Like, I can change kilograms into ounces and still have a big G. It will have a different value, but it's still the same constant because it has the same units, a unit of mass, a unit of length, and a unit of time in it. That's what defines that constant. Its value is arbitrary because the units are arbitrary, but what the units represent is not arbitrary. One represents mass, one represents distance, one represents time. You have completely different units. So who cares what the dimensionless portion of the constant is? It's meaningless.
Well, it turns out that it doesn't even matter anyway, right?
Right. So if it doesn't matter anyway, why is this declared as some kind of breakthrough?
Well,
That's my question.
he's showing the mathematical equivalence for those
Of what?
who require such a thing.
Mathematical equivalence of what?
The causation of gravity.
Of causing gravity. He's showing that you can assert anything as a causal mechanism, but all we actually ever have is just little g, the acceleration, right?
Yeah, I can make up any math and come up with something that is coulombed by whatever and say,
Yeah.
oh, look,
Yes.
I
Yeah, that's
won.
what that's
Oh, so that's what happened.
your conclusion is our premise, yes.
Okay, so if I come up with a unit that's Coulomb divided by meter times ohm squared, that's it. That's all I need to do, yeah? Just show you a number like that and say, look, I have a set of equations that led to this constant. The value happens to be 6, but then I threw it in there just, it's not 666. I just threw it in there kind of as a kickback to Newton, and that's it.
And that would be
The universe
fantastic
is
if you,
electric.
that would be fantastic if you did that, but I don't assert
Okay.
dynamics to cosmology or astronomy, so it wouldn't do me any good to have that constant. But that'd be
I
cool for
don't
you.
think I don't think there is much that could do you any good at this point.
Oh, Peter.
Well, I didn't listen to most of that, but what's up with everyone else?
Right? I mean,
The summary is you cooked me.
Oh, I posted something in the jumbo for you to have you some homework, Peter. Look at the paper, look at the units, do some analysis, develop a position, maybe take some some other Glober's ideas, and then come
To
back and present
develop
it
a
articulate.
position, I would like to see more out of you, Peter. If you're gonna be here, man, at least be here, right? Don't half-ass it, man.
Good, I'm going on a date. I plan to develop more than one position later tonight, so just let me be.
All right. Keep it PG,
Nobody
man.
cares about your date.
We hope you have a fantastic time, though.
Guaranteed.
Hey, so what's the topic or new topic?
Whatever.
Dealer's choice. What do you got?
what do you got?
Maybe he thinks you're still speaking, Brian, because you just have this blaring white noise when your mic's open.
Oh, you know what? Maybe.
I always try to tell you this, Brian, and you always yell at me when I tell you that.
Shut up, Peter.
It's like Meg.
You just made my point for me.
I'm still trying to figure out what's
It only happens when my AC turns on in my little.
It always happens. You echo back everything out of your speaker.
Shut up, Peter. Shut up. When I'm talking, you shut up. All right? I got an AC that turns on. It'll go off. It won't be so bad.
These two guys have a podcast. They
I
really know about audio.
care what you think about anything, Peter. Shut up.
I swear I had a question, but now I forgot.
We just needed a topic, someone to say something interesting that will interest someone else to say something interesting, and then we can go from there.
You know, all I've asked this dude all day long is to prove any portion what he believes in, and all his spin is fucking third grade fucking quips.
Has anyone heard any good globe Earth proofs lately? Has there been any new ones?
No.
Anyone seen any good Globe Earth memes?
No.
Man.
I think they just gave up.
Like, you think they'd be better at it? Like there's only like 3 good Globe memes, and how long have they been doing this? It's so embarrassing. Dude, I just made one right now in response to some random troll with 100 followers. It said, wait, hold on, like some direct response to him, right? He was like, "Oh, you guys just don't understand scale," and it was like same guy with the retard face going, "Folks just don't understand scale." How easy is that for a meme?
No, the sad thing is that we do understand the scale.
Yeah. Well, obviously, it's not that we're right; it's that we don't understand and we're wrong and we're misusing it, and we must have fudged it. It's everything but that.
You're using the Earth curve calculator wrong. Globies didn't make that. Flat Earthers made that.
You can't use stellarium to prove that the elevation angle to a star with an occultation is flat Earth. That's a globe tool. That means the Earth's a globe. You use stellarium.
Globe tools are useful sometimes, especially when it comes from like I Can Science That, and he tells all his fellow Globers that 8 inches per mile squared is accurate for like really long distances.
Like 2,000 miles.
3,000 miles, it deviates like 1 foot or something like that.
I mean, heck, as far as I ever take it is 275 miles. Long distance world record photo.
Man, like, so the 8 inches per mile squared is the parabolic interpretation, right? There's also the circle one, and there's also linear. And all three of those, like, if you overlay them for an observer on the surface, would up to a really certain degree all be indistinguishable from each other. Linear would look just like the edge of parabolic would look just like the edge of on a sphere, right? So like it's only after a certain distance that you'd even be able to distinguish them at all optically, if you could.
No, I don't think you could, because the compression would just all look the same, right?
That's what I'm saying. Like, for what we can see, all three of those would be indistinguishable to us. Like that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, because you could do 10 inches per mile squared and complete a circle, have a nice crisp 360 degree, or you could hit up your boy 8 inches per mile and get your weird parabolic arc that looks all retarded when it goes to complete.
Good enough for
but it's good. But it's good enough. Yeah, or you could do chord lengths, or I think there's another one you could do. Hell, you could probably throw Stokes' theorem in there. Fucking make the Earth a giant hypersurface, boys.
But I remember the angular resolution stuff from Life is Short when he was doing the angular resolution one, and there's this one awesome slide that was just like, oh man, that says it all. Like, it made me just go, oh, that's right. That's why they've been like confusing and bamboozling us, because they know it, so they throw it around. Like, so like the math that you would use to approximate a linear, loss of information at the horizon could be replaced with a parabolic expression up to a certain distance, and you can plug and play the numbers, and you can see that it makes no difference. And it's like, oh, I get it. So if it's a linear loss, like for a literal flat Earth, and you don't see forever, and you have like a linear loss of information at the horizon for a 6-foot observer after 3 miles, if that's linear, then it would be indistinguishable from what they're saying is 8 inches per mile squared when they're correcting to that all over the place for everything. What's up, JT?
What's going on, fam?
What's up?
El Presidente.
Oh man,
JT!
Life's going like a million miles an hour, but I've been listening on the YouTubes. I put in the chat that I wouldn't be able to hop
Who's
on,
JT?
but y'all can hear me?
He's the president of Flat Earth, son.
Oh, he's the flat Earth president, sir.
Is my mic working?
Wait, so we have
Oh,
like a hierarchy? We have like a
you-
hierarchy?
1 second,
I can
Puck.
hear you fine.
Yeah, yes, JT, we hear you loud and clear. Puck, yes, that hierarchy was established many moons ago. We voted JT in, and he's been leading us faithfully for the last, I don't know, how long is this? How long have we been running the charade chain?
We inaugurated him on Flat Earth Friday 118 or 119.
Okay, man, I was just listening to y'all and just loving it, just feeling like blast from the past. Just hearing what Stone's doing. I'm sad I missed the clubhouse hang the other day, and then just Alan and Shane, like how deep you guys are getting in untangling the nonsense, and how well spoken you are with exactly what took place here and there. Like most people that are just getting into like hearing about flat Earth, they have no clue how much work you guys have actually put into this. So yeah, I just want to jump up here and tell you I'm proud of how hard you work to push forward for truth. I mean, it's really paying off.
Thanks, JTZ. I just work here.
Who runs the show if you just work here, bro?
That's awesome. So I'm gonna dip out of here because I got the dishes to finish, the laundry to fold, a 2-month-old, and all the kids to get into bed. Got to pray them that way. But I ran Boston, got that done. My stepdad passed away sadly, so I helped my mom for like a week just last week, and then I've been sick too. So just like life is going faster and faster and faster. But I've missed y'all. I know I haven't been dipping into Discord much, but for anybody that's hearing me speak now, I haven't wavered one bit on the stationary topographical plane Earth that's enclosed. The truth is the truth, and it's going to continue to rise to the top no matter what kind of documentaries or mockumentaries come out. So y'all are doing the good work. Y'all are going to go down as legends, and much love to everybody.
JT, everybody.
Rock on.
You too, Stone. Oh, and I'm going to meet Stephen A. Young and Mark Gober at Confluence in a week. There's a lot of other people like Alex Zek, and the lady that did the telepathy tapes is going to be there. There's a lot of people going to Confluence, but if you guys have not looked up Stephen A. Young on YouTube, he just dropped a banger like yesterday or the day before. I'll drop it. I'll stay up on the mic for a second to drop the link. It's just so good, so be sure to save it for a pending soon to listen to episode. But yeah, I'm going to dip out though.
Later, JTZ. Where's Frantic go?
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why he's the president.
Right? So uplifting, positive.
That's what's up, JT.
Thanks for stopping by, brother.
My man starts every day by running 20 or so miles.
I know.
Just knocks out a 20 piece off his
Knocks out a
dome.
marathon, whatever, yeah.
Before the sun even comes up. Like just when the sun's about to wake up, JT's coming home on his 20th lap, dog. 20th mile.
Just know before you open one eye in the morning, he's already run 2 marathons with a kid on each shoulder in the snow while doing a live stream and supporting 4 other flat earthers. So, you know,
and did the dishes.
Alan and Shane, how many miles do you guys run together combined per week?
Big 0.
9/11, dude.
0, dude.
Nice.
The odds of winning the lottery and me going for a run are approximately equal.
Exactly. My only beeline is to the coffee pot. We'll leave it to Peter to chime in with his quips.
That was the best point I've ever heard him make, though. I mean, at least
That little rascal.
That's what I do, bro.
We gotta have a better Globy down here someplace. Come on.
Can we rank up? Can we trade up, trade him in? Evolve?
Dude, like if you like remember in Pokemon, like if you beat the shit out of a Pokemon, doesn't it get stronger? It eventually gets enough XP where you can fight the Pokemon trainer. It's like Peter just keeps hard resetting. He's like waiting for good RNG, like a lightning bolt strikes us both simultaneously, and he wins by or some shit.
Peter's a fucking Magikarp.
Yeah, just kind of.
I don't know what that is.
No attack, no defense. It's the worst Pokemon, dude. It was an excellent quip. I can't believe you didn't know that. Literally a useless fish that flops around on the fucking.
My Pokemon knowledge extends to Pikachu and Mewtwo and Charizard.
Well, now you got Magikarp, dude. So.
And Bulbasaur, obviously.
Yep.
All right, I got to drop the top. It's called Quantum Physics: Disentangling Fantasy from Reality, a critique by Stephen A. Young, PhD, and it's just a banger. But all right, I'll talk to you later. Much love.
Yeah, have a good one.
All right.
I love when JT gets all giddy. He's like, I'm gonna unentangle quantum. He's like so excited about it.
Dude, science is dangerous with the, you know, you got people believing in dualities with the particle light wave duality work, and you know, or like the quantum erasure where you would, depending on whether light's being observed, it can exhibit part of, like, it's the most retarded framework to get people to, then you get people to believe in like ridiculous things from there. I think that kind of thinking is dangerous, dude. Light can change the thing's state when it's being observed. I mean, come on, people.
When you observe it, it changes. Have you heard of an interferometer?
It's like, well, what if it's just a wave all the time and all the particle equations start with wave equations and particles are just, you know, empiricist streams? What if that was the scientific consensus? Like, okay.
Alan, don't you have a something on your YouTube channel on ring laser gyros?
Oh, we got a little something on ring laser gyros.
I sure do.
Everyone's got a couple of thoughts about him as well.
Yeah, I keep forgetting to check his BitChute channel. It's where he keeps everything.
It's 35 minutes worth of thoughts. I was just mentioning that to Taylor, actually, who just asked my opinion about gyroscopes and measuring the claims made about Earth movement and stuff, and what I thought about that. And the bottom line I gave her, other than watch the 35-minute video, is that it is, as a tool, it is not fit for purpose. So I think we're at a bit of a quandary in making any assertion like that in that arena with that tool.
Yeah, I might have to watch that then. It came up, and like 3 or 4 different people was asking me about it. Basically, it just came down to, what is it measuring? Just what was it built for? What is it measuring? I said basically, you know, it's measuring a phase shift. That's what it's measuring, right? Sagnac effect.
Yep, it's measuring
Using
the
2 counter-propagating beams, right?
That's exactly what it's doing. Yeah.
So that was my whole point. How do you get to it's measuring Earth rotation?
Yeah, the fact that you're measuring motion does not tell you from what the motion came, right? The fact that you're measuring motion is kinematics. To make the dynamic prediction and incorporation is something totally which you can't do sufficiently from the measurement itself.
Let me read a little bit from what Cass replied to Taylor with tonight on Discord when she asked him about the gyro compass and what it measures. He says, the gyro compass will measure rotation, and then in parentheses, he says kinematics, not use the laws of physics to predict a future measurement, in parentheses, dynamics. Relative motion holds true in kinematics, so the gyro compass will prove nada regarding absolute motion or inertial frames, not to say the mainstream misinformation won't claim otherwise. And then Taylor provided a citation from mainstream about inertial frames, which Bennett says that, let's see, Newton, I didn't read the paper, but this is just what he replied to it. He read it. He says that was a bad analysis of what an inertial frame is. Newton's bucket proved that Earth / the lab frame was inertial, not the stars. Oh, okay. So it must have been talking about rotation with respect to the stars or whatever. Said it with respect to the lab frame. So anyway, that's usually what they say. So anyway, it says Newton's definition of inertial frame is one in which the laws of physics are valid. So his equations like F equals ma, etc. So yes, the lab frame is valid, not the bucket frame. Though it's tough to find the truth now, but don't stop looking. And then he says mainstream tries to restrict an inertial frame to Newton's laws of mechanics. Like I said earlier, F equals ma explicitly is kind of what they try to keep it to. And then he says, but I extend it to the electromagnetic field theory and all branches of physics based on energy principles, the Lagrangian, which is something else. So, all right.
It's a song by ZZ Top.
He said the same thing I said, dude. Kinematics and dynamics, right? It can't be separate.
Right.
Makes no predictions. That dude is spot on. I love it.
Nailed it.
Beer must been around in that Texas town.
But so it's like to frame it. Let's see if we can simplify it. So, as flat earthers, who we know the Earth is stationary, but we also agree that motion is measured, right? So, what do other flat earthers think that motion is? The position isn't that Earth is stationary and we dismiss all measurements of motion, right? I think that was it at one point. I think sadly, I think now if you're not in the ether cosmology group, what do you do with measured motion? Does anyone know?
It's a bit of a conundrum. I have a question. I know that Dr. Bennett is a geocentrist, and I also know that he thinks that the Earth is a globe.
For now.
I know he doesn't think it orbits the sun, hence geocentrism, but does he think that the Earth rotates around its axis or no?
No, stationary. Absolute lab
Stationary
frame
in both
stationary
aspects.
fixed. Yes.
I believe he invokes Aries failure often, doesn't he?
Right. But that's orbital motion, right?
Yes, stationary as well, Peter.
So no axial rotation. Okay. So in that sense, a gyro compass, you said it responds to the kinematics. Nice. So kinematics of what?
No, that's not what we said. It's also a retarded
Oh,
way
okay.
to say it.
Yeah, I know. It sounded retarded the moment I heard it. So when you were reading this, Alan, the part about kinematics of what?
He's saying that the measurement could be Earth rotation or sky rotation or some other mechanism of rotation. The measurement alone itself doesn't tell you which is rotating, is what he's saying.
Okay, so that would mean that a gyro compass, which is a mechanical device attached to, let's say, a table, it responds to the kinematic motion of the sky.
Well, you're saying kinematic motion, like the motion obviously would be dynamic, but that's not what he was saying, right? He was saying kinematically, just the measurement alone couldn't tell you if it's the sky moving or the ground moving. But you keep trying. You keep trying to.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Dude, there's like 5 of us Globers left. We're kind of desperate at this point. So it aligns itself with what we call the geographic North Pole or the South Pole. And how exactly? What does the good doctor think about that? The reason, I'm asking the reason, the physical reason behind the gyro compass, which is a human-made mechanical device, right? Not some phenomenon in nature. What is causing it to align itself with the geographic poles?
That's an internal mechanism. Isn't there like a weight inside that automatically, over time,
Timothy, you should
itself?
sit this one out.
It's
Timothy.
not aligned to geographic poles off the bat. That's specifically not true. It's aligned to the center of rotation, right, which would be the motion, which strangely would be Polaris, right? So it ends up being an alignment to Polaris from wherever you are.
Oh, I see.
A latitude-based correction.
And what is causing that to occur?
To the center of rotation, right? Because that would be where the ether vortex would be if you would put it over the Earth, the actual vectors would match what you would expect for that exactly, right? Actually, it works specifically for what the ether wind model would be and not for a uniform rotating Earth motion. So the motion that we
We're
measure in the
back to class
sky
talking.
specifically doesn't work for an Earth uniform rotating sphere, right? It only works for the dynamic ether winds.
Yeah, so what's causing this alignment to occur?
You ask ridiculous questions. It's not. You're not causing an alignment when you're taking a measurement. You have to set up the measuring
I
device
said, what
to
is causing
align with
the
the center
mechanical
of rotation.
device to align itself with those things? What is mediating something that is causing it to align itself?
I thought I heard Shane tell you.
Well, I didn't hear an answer. So, like, are you implying that this
That's
mechanical
because you were
device?
talking over him when he was responding to
Are
you.
you implying that this mechanical device just magically guesses which way is the axis of whatever rotation of Polaris?
Have you never used the
Did you
gyro
hear him
compass,
use the word
Peter?
calibrate,
Yeah,
Peter?
yeah. Did you ever use the gyro compass? Because you have to program in your geographic long lat into the graticule so it knows where it is, right? That's the whole purpose
Into
of the
the
alignment.
in 19th century, you programmed something into a graticule.
Gyro compass is what we're talking about, right?
Yeah, like late 1800s. A graticule. You program a graticule. How?
Program the graticule. Well, the new ones that you get, right? You have to enter in
No, I'm
value
talking
and
about
tell
the
you
old ones.
where it is.
What
Well, I
made
don't
the
know
old
why.
ones?
I don't know why you're talking about the old ones when we're specifically talking about the new
Because
ones
I'm
and how they
curious.
align to rotation. Do you think they aligned an old mechanical gyro to the center of Earth rotation, dude?
Well, how would they use a gyro compass in 1890s or early 1900s? That's when it was invented, right, as an instrument. So no electronics, no nothing to program into anything. So how would that align itself with whatever you said?
I don't know what you're trying to do here, Peter.
I don't know what
I asked a simple question. I repeat my question. How does a mechanical device, without any connectivity, without any electronics, without anything other than mechanical gearing in it, how does it align itself with the axis of rotation of whatever around Polaris? Like Shane said, what's causing that to occur?
That doesn't happen. I don't know what you're talking about. That's retarded.
Yeah, I've actually never seen
Yeah,
one
that's the
do
claim.
that.
I don't know what you're talking
It's a
about.
You've
claim,
never
but it's all mechanical. There's literally a
what's
weight inside that causes it to readjust itself. Look up the internal
right.
parts of that
So
that gyro
what's
compass.
yes, no, I understand that, but what's causing it to know which way the axis of rotation of Polaris is?
Only ring laser gyros have to align with the center of rotation. I don't know what you're talking about.
Ring laser gyros. I'm talking about gyro compass from 1900s, World War
You
One.
say it didn't do it, bro. What are you talking about?
You're saying World War One ships did not have gyro compasses in them?
Dude, I don't know what the hell you're trying. Everything
That's
you
not
say is
what
retarded.
that's not what anyone said. Why did you do that? That's not nobody said that. Like, don't do that,
I'm
Peter. Stay on
asking a
task.
question. How does a mechanical gyro compass, not an
So,
electronic one,
okay,
not an optical,
for
how
the
does it
third
work?
time, everyone is saying that it doesn't do that. That's not part of what happens. It doesn't magically start aligning to the axis of rotation. Is that what you're saying? That when you spin it up, it starts
It's
aligning to the
called.
axis of rotation?
That's why we call it a gyro compass. It tells you where north is.
Oh my god.
Okay.
It's
And
called a
did you hear
gyro compass.
and did you hear them saying that it doesn't do that? And did you hear TM saying
Okay.
how it actually works to do it and it's in the calibration? You're
So
like, how
if
did
I'm on a
you're like,
ship,
hold on, stop. And you're like, how did they do it? Like we're going in circles, dude. Next question.
well, I don't think you're answer. I think you're avoiding my first question.
All right, I gotta go walk the
Well, I
dog.
think it
You
was
guys sort
answered
this
3
out. I'll be back.
times, so I'm gonna go do something else.
All right, you should do that. If I were you, I'd do exactly that.
This is how much of a piece of crap you are. Seriously, Peter. Why do you do this? Why
Well, I want to LARP as a physicist too.
you LARP as an asshole?
No, I am an asshole. I don't need to LARP as an asshole, but I'm not a physicist and I want to join the LARP.
I'm sorry, guys, but I got tired of Peter.
Quite all right. I was wondering why it took you so long.
Let's see. 1 second.
Just there's no other Globies, man. But
Yeah, slim pickings. I'll give you that.
but even then, it's like, is it worth it? It's been painful.
Is Carmine a Globie?
No, I don't think he is.
Alrighty. Actually, U.S. Navy for them for the last fucking 40, 50 years. The ones that were in service back in the 90s are now being retired in favor of a shiny brand new version of the same tool. And that is that as a tool, they're not actually fit for purpose. And even when we talk about the modern ones made by Sperry, for example, supplying the US Navy for them for the last fucking 40, 50 years. The ones that were in service back in the 90s are now being retired in favor of a shiny brand new version of the same tool that is the size of a bloody bookshelf. And I can't recommend more strongly that people take the time, which nobody ever does, to look at the manual. And it's because it's well over 100 pages long. If you do, that's really where the reward is, because you'll get to page 102 of the Sperry manual for the one that we used in the 90s, and you'll see a couple of figures on that page. And I've covered this in previous Flat Earth Fridays, and I think it needs to be revisited here, judging by the conversation that just went down. That when you look at page 102, and this is all off the top of my head because how many times I've mentioned this over the couple of years now, that you're going to find figures that talk about and describe how many times you have to recalibrate the unit on a single trip, on the single leg of a single trip. And the answer is all the fucking time. And it is because it is not fit for purpose. You will find in that manual dozens of pages, not just on the Kalman filter process and the other anti-noising that they do, and the basically the figure manipulation that they do to produce values for you. It also has a whole other subroutine running based on cumulative correction. It's all right in the manual, and all of it points to the obvious conclusion that it is, as a tool, it is simply not fit for purpose. I mean, sure, great. Rigidity in space is a fucking awesome concept. I recommend everybody check that out in detail because, as far as physics go, I think it's one of the neatest ones. So when we talk about why does it align it this way, or why does it show movement, the point is it fucking doesn't. Something that is the size of your head or smaller, that has a physical mass that's spinning, you've got to look at the ratio in friction here. Like, sure, you can vacuum up the chamber that it's in if you want to. Not that they do on airplanes. They actually use air passing through the box itself to make it spin for a lot of them in the early phase. But back to the Sperry and the fiber optic nature of what's going on here. Forget it. Let's talk about Peter for a sec. I'm sorry. This thing about how you've got your spinning mass and there's rigidity in space observed in what's going on there, that in your hand, if you move it and all of a sudden you change its orientation on a particular axis by 20 degrees, you'll notice that there's a lot of resistance of the actual spinning object to also move in that direction on that axis. And it'll translate through its bearings because of its restriction in motion and on the three axes specifically. You'll see that. And these are all the calculations and the trig calculations that these people and the machines now are making, because we have that all programmed into them. But the ratio on a physical gyro like that between the rate of change of orientation that we claim to be making and the rough amount of change of orientation that you do in a marine setting on a big old ship going from one latitude to another latitude, oh boy, that takes fucking forever. And something that is that small on a set of physical bearings, there's just so much inherent instrument error. And this is why I'm pointing that even in the fiber optic gyro arena, it is not fit for purpose. And this is why you necessarily have to repeatedly enter GPS sourced latitude position, longitude position corrections into the Sperry unit on board while in the middle of your trip. I hope I made that clear. And if you're not getting what I'm saying, look even more detail presented on the problems of the noise generated in a fiber optic gyro and what that does to your data set when there's such a slow rate of change, or in this context, a zero rate of change, which is what we're asserting, no motion of the Earth, etc. Take a look at that 35-minute video I put out, and that is exactly the point you will see me quantitatively making with Bob's data. Quote Bob's data, although he had very little to do with the actual collection of that data, you will find when you watch the video itself. Hope all that made sense. If it didn't, by all means, fire a question at me.
Yo, real quick before you get into questions, I posted a paper from the 1920s where they were going over the exact thing you were talking about with mechanical friction and, you know, this alignment and, you know, the precession, etc. Not exactly working out how they, like, this conceptualized idealization of, oh yeah, we have this gyro compass that measures ball rotate. That's, you know, anyway. So there's that, and then the inertial navigation system, which we were talking about, which requires the GPS, you know, regular GPS corrections. I have the page from the manual that you showed me, where it shows the plotted out course, where it's like, this is what the INS predicts, this is what it actually is, these are the GPS corrections, this is the drift, etc. So I'm posting that now for everyone to check out in the Jumbotron.
Excellent.
Well, I did read up on how they calibrated the first standardized gyro compass. And basically, they would either like shoot a star or like the sun, they get a celestial body at a particular time. And they would calculate which way true north was. And then they would align the gyro compass using a lubber line, whatever that is, to give them the to maintain that direction. So basically, it was a calibration. They would calculate where true north is. It had to find it. It doesn't just align with it.
Yeah, and it doesn't stay aligned and work in perpetuity. Like, you know, it's just not what happens.
Yep, that's the page. Isn't that glorious? 3-25.
That was such a good find, because you know what's crazy is if relativity wasn't holding them back, they could have like a super accurate system, but they make it retarded and, you know, drift and, you know, let all that happen, and then they just rely on GPS, which has to be the accurate thing.
Well, I couldn't help but notice that old Puck here was giving a thumbs down through everything that Stone was saying.
Ruck?
Yes.
What the Puck?
I'd love to know why.
I was just wondering why it got booted.
What's that got to do with the price of fish?
You didn't get booted.
I just wonder who booted me.
Is that so that's all the thumbs down was about there?
Oh,
yeah,
real
I just
quick.
wonder why I got kicked. I'm like, I found some flat earthers. Like, no, hey, shut the fuck up. Hey, I found.
Well, that was a mistake.
Well, so if you're wondering why you got booted, I'm pretty sure it's pretty obvious now, right?
Yo, real quick before we move on, Taylor found a really interesting series of papers, and or led me to a series of papers. I can't remember which happened, but basically some guy was trying to come up with a theory to explain gyro compasses and Coriolis force, you know, et cetera, or whatever. And it was basically, can't remember the specifics, but it was a rotating magnetic field would basically, you know, assuming XYZ parameters would create the same assumed effect that they claim to be measuring in these things or whatever. So like, mechanistically, right, you could come up with different things. Like we talked about that earlier with equivalences and the constants that they're using. So like if you're attributing a different causal mechanism, right, and that's what this guy was doing in the paper that Taylor found, you can certainly math that out using your constants and you're good to go. And that's what he did. It's like, should the measurement exist, we could own it easily, guys. It's not like the boogeyman it means nothing. They're all described by the same equations, and most of them break down to kinematics, which means they're up for grabs.
I got this delightful nostalgic feeling going over me looking at that page from the manual from the Norfolk Grumman.
I couldn't believe it when
yes.
you were like, that thing's dog shit, right? And I was like, what? No, it's the most accurate thing known to man. You're like, go to page 183 or whatever, or 407. I don't know, but anyway, and then there was the death of the fun or whatever. I was like, oh, it's a fucking piece of shit. It's a $40,000 piece of shit.
Totally.
Like, we need one of these in every missile. What does it do? Receives GPS corrections really well.
That's right. It keeps track of its own error really well.
Oh, that's crazy.
It's what happens when you show up underdocumented.
Yeah, if they let everyone know that they could have a device that like literally track their movement down to the wavelength, everybody would get suspicious. So they're just like, here's the $60,000 piece of shit. It tells you how fast you're turning.
They got a new contract, like $40 to $60 million, that kind of range for supplying a whole new generation of this dog shit.
Yo, Alan, can I ask you a question?
You guys are paying for that.
Absolutely.
So someone in the comments is asking a question, so I would love to ask it to you. They're saying, but why? Why does it matter so much that I believe it's a globe? What decision-making process, philosophy, or idea is being subverted that would cause changes to society if accepted as truth?
You will no longer exist in that prison.
Why would they lie?
Very simple.
Yeah. It's like, suppose you're put in a mental prison, right? And then you found out that you could escape and think for yourself and, have your own cosmology.
Really don't have locks on them.
Right.
There were no bars on the windows. You could just slip out any time.
Suppose that was an option. That's it. That's really it.
Suppose you didn't have to work 9 to 5 for 45 years. That's worth it, right? Suppose you didn't have to pay taxes or interest rates.
What if the scenario is just far bigger than that guy asking the question can even conceive at this point in his life, based on his so totally limited experience of the world?
I'll give you
We have
my
a creator
answer.
and they're hiding him. Like, how does nobody see this?
Go ahead, TM.
No, I'm just saying we have a creator and they're lying about it. They want to teach us that we're insignificant little fucks living on this little speck in infinite nothingness. It's insane, and nobody can wake up to that.
Yeah, he took the words right out of my mouth, man. Because I'll never forget. I'll never forget that Bill and
live
Ted
on a speck in the middle of specklessness.
Bill and Ted phone booth podcast. In the beginning of it, one of them is saying they want us to think that we're just an irrelevant speck of dust floating through space at 500,000 miles an hour, and your life is just irrelevant. That's what the fuck they want us to think. That's why they want to confuse us and make us think that God is not real and we're flying through space at all these different speeds. They want you to think that there's so much more out there instead of you thinking that you are God's greatest creation, created in God's image. That's why. What do you think, that we just randomly popped up out the sand with all these sophisticated systems working inside of our bodies in unison? That there wasn't some sort of supreme intelligence that created the human race? They want us to believe that we're random when we're really the greatest creation ever known in history.
Somebody get out the Mr. Garrison South Park footage. Okay, class, we're going to explain evolution. Okay, this one-celled thing fucked this other two-celled thing, and then this three-celled thing fucked a fish, and then this other retarded fish fucked a retarded monkey, and here you are.
That is the funniest. We are descendants from gay monkey fish frogs, man. I love that episode.
That's classic.
To think, I mean, seriously, to think that anything came from nothing. There's like literally no start of evolution. It just poof, it just showed up.
Yeah, the fundamental backbone of modern cosmology is everything came from nothing. Like, that's so intellectually bankrupt, it's insane. Like, the fact that that's even on the table.
And it is. And they're selling it. And they're selling it hard, man. You got the two lead guys there, Michio Kaku and Lawrence Krauss, talking about nothing. They say, once you understand nothing, you understand.
But hear me out.
Everything.
But hear me out. If we have a singularity.
Look how clueless the world is. Someone is asking, and since when is the Bible a reference for such things like flat earth? That's how clueless people are.
What were we saying, Alan?
Can't remember.
Oh shit, I'm so sorry, bro. I'm so sorry. I'm fired up right now. Because there's a
You're
lot of
good.
people here in
I
these
can tell
comments.
you're passionate mans. It's all good.
There's a lot of people here in these comments, and I'm inviting them to come here. Like, let's go. Let's discuss it. Let's discuss it. But people are afraid to talk about this because this challenges the reality that they have been provided by the supreme authority. That's why. All their fucking life, they got master's degree, bachelor's degree, associate's degree, they got everything. Their whole life, they've been being told this lie. They've been fooled so well that they got degrees and they paid hundreds of thousands of dollars for higher education that lied to them. That's why they won't accept it. That's why Peter comes with a fake German accent and he won't accept it with his degrees because he doesn't want to accept the fact that he's been fooled on the deepest deception level, on the deepest deception. Flat Earth is literally the foundation of lies they built all their lies upon.
Yeah, they turned cosmology into a branch of physics and then just told everyone that, like, you know, after conflating those two, that they were the same forever and that they're never wrong about anything. And like their whole their whole ideology and philosophy that created their cosmology is now a part of physics and society and everything.
So what you're saying is they aren't the Globe gangsters. They're the Decepticons.
I mean, they literally sold everybody on motion is relative.
Dude, imagine you discovered like a mathematical relation. Okay. Imagine you discovered a mathematical relationship that could, you know, quote unquote, predict the positions of the planetary bodies throughout the year or where they're going to be, you know, in X amount of years, right? You would be super stoked about that, right? And then imagine a couple years later, some guy comes along and he's like, hey, we have these number values here. And when we insert them for the Earth value and the sun and the other values that we get, it matches what we got with the first thing. Like you would be like, oh my God, that's crazy. That must mean that the Earth weighs this much and the sun weighs that much, and there's this much gravitational potential pulling us, and it's creating this, you know, it's creating this 365-day thing we see in the sky, right? And you start building your whole cosmology and merging physics with it, because now not only do you have your cosmology for your predictions and astronomy, right, and how you're interpreting what the bodies of and are, but now you're asserting why they're moving. And then as all that's happening, science is progressing, and you realize that you could use light and split it around a circuit and measure the wavelengths when it recombines to measure a velocity ratio, right? So then you're like, oh my God, guys, we can measure the velocity of Earth through space, and we can find out if our cosmology is correct, if we're on the right path, if we truly understand the heavens as we've asserted with the math. right? Because remember, they used to write things down in English, right? Or well, in Latin, right? They used to have it in books, and then you would have to go to your local priest and have him decipher your cosmology and belief system to you, right? And now we got these fancy math equations to do the same thing. And they went to go test the correctness of this. And what they measured was a velocity that did not correspond to their cosmology or the physics that they were asserting along with their cosmology. And what it turned out to be is all they ever had was the observation of things completing circuits in the sky and then using a ratio of that to describe how long it takes and then that for it to complete that circuit. And it doesn't actually mean anything physical, but it's something that you can calculate, right? But they were taking these things as physical and they built a model on it, and they built their entire belief system and structure on it, and they were wrong.
Funny how science does that to you, huh?
Yeah, that's why they had to invent special relativity. That's why Einstein is so propped up, right? We all know Einstein's famous, but why? Right? He's a super genius, the nuclear bomb, man. Who? Why? No. It's even greater than that. They tried to measure the speed of Earth, and they didn't get the value that they needed. And they had such a stranglehold on information and technology at the time, the Royal Society, right? Everything that was delivered to the public was basically through these learned men. So if you were going to get educated, you were going to have to adopt their cosmology. If you wanted to know how to interpret the sky and what's going on with it, you were going to have to start interpreting it through the lens of the learned men. And they couldn't give that power up, right? Why would you listen to a bunch of people who are wrong?
I'm glad this is recorded. They just disproved the ether, Alan.
Dude, just disprove the ether. Nah.
What was that? I just got back. What was that? What disproved the ether?
Oh, we were just talking a little Mickelson Morley. How the interpretation is that they just disproved the ether.
You would
What
think
they
they would
really
put that, how come they didn't put
what
that
they
in the
really
title?
did was disprove modern cosmology and the physical interpretation of cosmology that was being asserted through Newtonian dynamics.
You would think they would have put that in the title. How we disproved the ether. But they put in there Earth's motion and the luminiferous ether. It's weird. They were pretty incompetent back then. Kind of like
Well,
Harry. Yeah, he was a doofus.
unlucky.
Oh my God. Peter's back. Who let Peter back up?
That was me. I seen a request and I didn't know that you have him punished. I didn't even know what was going on there.
I only have 10 minutes, you guys.
You got 30 seconds. Say something intelligent.
Did you hear about the lover line there, Peter? How they calibrated your 1907 first standardized tower compass? And then nice. They had to find the direction of north and use the lover line to calibrate it.
Yeah, can I ask you a question about that, Ken?
It would be preferable if you just asked it. You only have 10 minutes,
Oh,
brother.
okay. Yeah. Well, I'm on thin ice here. So, listen. So, say during World War II, a submarine captain, right, has a gyro compass in his submarine. That's before GPS. That's before laser gyros. All of that stuff. Before computers. Before any sort of electronics, what we today call electronics. So, how when he's submerged, how is he using the gyro compass?
For orientation of the submarine, fool.
I like that we went
No,
over.
no, no. I'm sorry, not the gyro. The gyro
Oh,
compass.
Jesus Christ.
My God, this guy's an idiot.
Those are two different devices, right? A gyro compass is for navigation, not orientation.
I'm not sure who muted you there, but it was worth it.
Oh, I had my mic off. So the first standardized gyro compass, 1907, right? That's going back far enough. That's the first standardized one they had. Made by a company in Germany. And what they had to do was view a star or the sun and determine north. That's it. Determine true north. And if they did this after they got it, wound up. It would take a little bit to actually get up to speed. But once it was, that's when they take their direction north that they've calculated to true north. And they use a lubber line to calibrate the gyro compass so that it points in that direction. It aligns with that direction.
That
So it's
makes
actually
sense.
calibrated. It is calibrated in mechanically.
Got it. No, I get it. Thank you. So now I go underwater and I travel, tens of miles, and I need to know which way is north to navigate. So I look at my gyro compass, and it's because I cannot look at anything else, right? I'm inside of a submarine, and it tells me, okay, north is this way, and it turns out to be true. So how does that device know which way is north after a few hours of travel time underwater?
Imagine it has to do with the lubber line there, Peter.
The what line?
What they call the lubber line. That is what they use to calibrate north.
No, I get the calibrate part. What I'm saying is, I'm going in a submarine, I'm making turns underwater, right? I'm changing direction, and I need to know which way is north. I cannot look at the stars. I obviously don't have a GPS or anything else.
I'm sorry, did you forget why gyros are important? Because
Yes.
they maintain rigidity in space?
Okay.
Are you saying that they never had to be recalibrated again, Peter?
No, every mechanical device needs to be recalibrated.
Oh, okay. So they calibrate it, and then they recalibrate it, right? Probably involve going to the surface, getting an angle to a star, right?
Is that what you're claiming? So, like, if I turn off,
getting it recalibrated to north.
No, I get it.
So
So
it's calibrating north end. It's not finding it on its own, Peter.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Break it up, and it just aligned with the Earth's rotation.
Okay,
No.
so your claim, if I understand your statement correctly, sorry, you never make claims. So if I understand your statement correctly, a submarine captain, if he turned off his gyro compass, which was a common practice to reduce the noise signature, if he turned it off, evaded, those pesky British destroyers, and then wanted to reestablish north, just turning on the gyro compass would not be useful. He would have to resurface and reestablish north using stars, and only then would the gyro compass become useful again. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that's how they turn it on and calibrate it to north.
All right, thank you, Ken.
Somehow, some way, Peter thinks he won something with that. It's ridiculous.
Hey, every time I get a flyer to make a statement.
And first of all, I've already told you, Peter, when I'm speaking, shut up. That whole exchange didn't amount to anything. Nothing came from it. Nothing. Thank you for wasting everyone's time, Peter. Was that all you had to say?
Yeah, Peter plays this game where it doesn't really matter what he says. As long as he's talking, he's winning. If he has your attention, we all lose, right? If he gets to say words, more than one in an order uninterrupted, then everyone loses points. That's how the game with Peter works, I think.
Exactly. Have you said what you needed to say, Peter?
No, not yet.
No, I'm sure you have. Have you said? Is there anything you'd like to say before you leave?
Yes.
Well, you had your chance, and well, you didn't take it. Bye, Peter. See you some other time. However, if there's any Globies out there that aren't retarded like Peter, come on up, grab a mic.
And every time I give Peter a chance, he gets knocked down. Peter, tis. Yeah, it looks like the Globe Earthers lost this day. I haven't met a Globe Earther in months that had a good argument.
I've never met one that had a non-fallacious argument, statement, or stance. Right? Once you learn logical fallacies and once you start listening to them, like every single thing that they say as a response, every typical Glob proof, every typical response, every so-called proof of motion or whatever is logically fallacious by default right out the gate. It's insane.
And you know what's funny? Is they say you got to believe all the science. Well, all the science says you can't feel any motion. But somehow, someway we are.
Yeah, the science really says you can't actually detect it or measure it, but you can believe real hard that it's there. And if we have some math, we can try to convince you that it's there.
So the science says that we're not moving. All the scientists agree that we're not moving, but trust me, bro, we're totally orbiting the sun. People
That's the way Einstein put it.
It's the way
it stems from the Copernican principle that the revulsion that the humanity is at the center of everything from a geocentric position. It has implications. So they take a philosophical stance that rejects that, and obviously all of the science conclusions that follow are based on this presupposition, which is philosophy disguised as science.
And then all these scientists who are making all these boohoo bucks and telling us the way of everything that's going on in life, and you ask them, okay, so what is gravity? And they go, I don't know, things fall. There you go. Watch this mic drop. There you go. There's gravity. That's the best you get from today's science. That's just lame. That's weak. Tell you what, you've been looking for it for over 400 years. And then you want to come up with some dark matter crap. You've been looking for over 50 years. You got anything on that? Nope. Does it mean you're wrong? Nope. Just means we haven't found the answer yet. Are you close? Nope. We're so far off that we're thinking about going to quantum stuff. What's that? We don't know. But we got a name for the gravitron, if we ever find it. This is your science. Really? You guys are hanging on to this? Bending space-time? Really? Relative motion? Oh, you can feel all kind of motion. If you're on a plane, I can always tell I'm on a plane. No matter what, I can always tell I'm on a plane. Stop saying it.
Well, when they keep going to measure Earth's orbital velocity, the motion that needs to exist for heliocentrism to be valid, they keep going to measure it, and it's never there. They can never detect it, and all. So finally, they were like, "Oh, well, the measurement device." So it must. Here's what happened, guys. It must have been there, but the device contracted in a nondescript way, exactly in proportion with what it would need to for us to not measure it, but for it to be there. Yeah, that's what
and then
happened.
Came out with this dude with the Lorentz contraction and said everything shrunk, including you. You just didn't know it happened or felt it or anything like that, but it totally happened. And people said, "Okay, are you kidding me?" And only in the direction it needed to go.
If I'm not mistaken, they didn't even qualify it as even being necessary to use. I mean, how do you justify using a contraction that you can't measure?
How does that even come up in conversation? Well, maybe everything shrunk. How do you even bring that up? Maybe everything shrunk. And everybody said, huh?
We ain't moving.
I can do the math on it.
There's a nice Occam's razor. What's more likely? The Earth isn't moving, or everything contracted just the right amount to make it look like we're not moving.
Isn't that it? That's the whole position. Which one makes more? Which one would you be able to defend to your friends with a straight face?
With a straight face, man. I mean, who brought that? Hey, man, so I can get us back to no motion. How's that? Everything shrunk. And they had to continue on with that conversation. And if I'm not mistaken, they still use it today, don't they? It's absurdity.
It's just a long pause with your white noise on.
Who's that one guy you were supposed to debate? Where's he at? Was it? It wasn't Swallow, was it?
Yes, it was Swallow.
Man,
we haven't worked out the time.
I thought we screwed up the time, but I don't even know what question he wants to ask. Every time I make a comment, he's like, "Oh, we gotta have a talk." And I was like, "Bro, I'll have a debate anytime." You always say one thing and then so. I don't know what his argument is.
I asked Brock, let's say I'm standing at true north in the North Pole and went south at every degree in a full 360-degree rotation. If I ran into Antarctica every time, would it be safe to say I'm surrounded by Antarctica? Grok said, if you're at the North Pole and travel south in every direction, you'd eventually reach the South Pole, surrounded by Antarctica. Wow. Surrounded by Antarctica? Oh, Grok.
Come on, Globies, come on up. Not Peter, though.
All right, gang. It's going a bit slow here, and there are some things kindling in other places on the netverse right now, so I think I'm going to be heading elsewhere, but it's been a slice, as usual. what little time we had together, kiddies. Yeah, man, maybe we'll see you next Friday night.
Well, you have good evening, Snow.
Yeah.
Check them out on BitChute.
Yeah, don't forget that.
Aren't you on BitChute and a few other things?
Yeah, that and Telegram. That's where I spend most of my time. But yeah, just got to right-click me and check out my bio here. All my BitChute and all that stuff is listed right in my bio. For anybody who's curious, that's at Inventionaire. After I'm gone here, you can still find me. Like the word invention, but kind of like millionaire on the end. That's the play on words.
Yeah, I think you're following, man. I wasn't even following you.
Awesome. Right on, guys. Have a good one, and we'll catch you next time.
See you later, brother. Yes, while I was in here trying to defend that flying dildo.
I don't know. That's kind of indefensible, really. Really is. It doesn't even, like I showed earlier, the door of that capsule is thinner than the door of a 747. You know how he came up to it with a crank? If you look at it, it's only a quarter of an inch thick. A 747 door is like 4 to 5 times more thicker than that. And it's only going at 30,000 feet.
Dude, they even said that the windows were too big. Yeah, he was all trying to defend. I'm like, dude, they opened up the door and then closed it. And then used a special tool to open up the door. I don't even know. Yeah. I don't know how you guys are believing this stuff. Seriously. I don't know how you guys are believing this stuff. Seriously. This illusion cannot be this strong that people still believe that. I mean,
you know, there's a lot of fluoride in the water, brother.
And they were supposed to be up there in spacesuits where they were like, you know, showing cleavage and stuff, whatever.
Yeah, we couldn't really call them like Transformers because didn't the Transformers come to space and they all look trans?
They are trans.
They all look trans. Every single one of the people that went in that rocket looked trans. They all had Adam's apple. Even Jeff Bezos' woman, she's the one that looked the most trans.
We call them Decepticons. Robots in disguise. You know you wanted to say it.
I see this guy Matt Lump down there all day. Black emoji, black emoji. Bring your fucking ass up here, bro.
If it's
there must be something funny when you're laughing.
Welcome to the show. If you don't know, it's part of the show. Didn't they teach you to reach for the stars while opening up the bars and keeping you chained down with mortgage bills and cars? Vaccines for your arms, kids sounding like supercharged, caffeinated hate-filled scars and rage-quit repertoires. No answers for yards, caught up in emotion that's not even yours. Imposter truths like impeccable retards, lined up for your serving of gish galloping wars. No remedy can save the lost, in love with the yarn. I'm tired of walking into refracted shards, poor science displayed by disgusting bards. Soaked in sin with your dupe is delight and a new hand of cards. Been so long, seems like for love I'm just too hard, I'm just too hard, that's it. Welcome to the show, where you don't know if it's part of the show. Welcome to the show, if you don't know. Intoxicated 8 makes you believe you're spinning in space while you have no shame or grace. It's a disdainful state I used to contemplate how to save myself from my own self-hate. Wonder why I was even made with a dreadful fate, forced to try and awake with a full plate. No one to help me stay awake or educate. I've had to liberate and fight through hidden gates. But my brother, heaven could never be late, and rockets don't work in space. It's all fake, the show is on Mars. It's a joke, but you're too far gone, it won't be long. Fepe's beak is strong.